Do you regret not staying in the primary, making the case to Democrats in the primary, making your case about what the DNC was doing to you?
I wish the Democrats had made room for a primary election. Our polling was showing that I would beat, while President Biden was either losing to President Trump or he was tying him, I was decisively beating President Trump. Even as far back as August, I was beating him by 8 points. I was beating DeSantis by 11 points. And I think other people could have done that too. I think the Democrats, if they'd been more strategic, would have opened the primary and allowed other people to contest it, had a real election. And instead, they rigged the rules so that people like myself could not contest against President Biden. And I think it was a mistake for them. I got a lot to talk about. They shouldn't have shut me up that long, because now I'm going to really let loose on them for the next 18 months. They're going to hear a lot from me.
We've used our editorial judgment in not including extended portions of that exchange.
I don't know how we're going to reach people now. I know that there's a lot more availability of press now that I've announced, so that I'm going to be able to talk to people that I haven't been able to talk to for 18 years, that I've been censored in talking to. If we can't have a common consensus about what is true and what is not true, we're going to be at each other's throats. And then the government's remedy for that is silencing people who disagree with the official story and marginalizing them and vilifying them and gaslighting them and, making them pariahs.
How can the Kennedy campaign today in the face of all this hostility? So far, the internet has been our friend to some extent because it is in our hands and it's possible for us to live stream. It's possible for us to get our own message out, even though every other website out there seems to be hostile and intent either on censoring that message or directly attacking their agenda. Until they turn the internet off, those are the means that can be used to keep this campaign going, And if they turn the internet off, then we're going to have to rely on face-to-face communication.
I look at this crowd, I see all the flags of Europe. I see people of every color.
We're living in a sea of propaganda and censorship. And when I look at the media, it's all these narratives. They all want you to get to think and act in a certain way. And most people they don't have a good defense against propaganda.
Between Facebook and the White House, there was an acknowledgement that they were being asked and they were complying with censoring information that everybody knew to be true. Tapped up the cost of the Ukraine war to $113 billion. I am not going to run a mean-spirited campaign or a personal campaign against President Biden. And I think everybody wants safe vaccines.
Look, when the horse track is muddy, all horses have a chance to win. Well, look at where politics in our nation and our world is today. It's a muddy horse track. Bobby has a great chance of doing this.
We have a poll. Kennedy Jr. has basically been nowhere, yet he's at 20%.
And with an absolutely hostile media channel.
A new poll from Echelon Insights finds that Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s favorability numbers among likely voters are the same as Vice President Kamala Harris's, and Donald Trump's at 39% and just a few points below President Biden, who has 43%. But the more notable statistic here is that RFK Jr.'s favorability is skyrocketing.
I think a lot of Americans are really interested in somebody who will tell them the truth. And if I'm right about that, then, this election will have a happy ending. And if it's not, I'll still have a happy ending. I'm not a fan of Trump's, but I want to be on a level battlefield with him. I don't want to beat him because a court threw him out. I want to beat him because I'm able to make the argument to the American people that I should be president, and I have a debate and that kind of stuff. I think this persecution that the DNC has leveled, that people see that as unfair. Americans just viscerally are saying this guy is being attacked, and it's moving huge numbers of voters over to him because they're pissed at what the DNC is doing.
Yeah.
It's also terrible for America, who are supposed to be the exemplary democracy and around the world. This is what they do in banana republics.
Yeah.
You don't want to run against the guy because he's popular. So you get a judge to throw him out.
Yeah. That's a great comparison.
And, it's not America.
Yeah.
And they're doing the same thing to me. They're trying to make sure that nobody can vote for me, rather than having President Biden come out and say, here's why I think I should be a good president.
Yeah.
And here's why I think you shouldn't be. And let's have that discussion.
President Biden was in an ice cream shop and he was asked about Gaza, and he said, while eating ice cream, oh, there's going to be a ceasefire by the weekend. No, not by the weekend, by right after the weekend. And it's not the first time that we've heard him take on serious foreign policy issues in that kind of light environment. We don't hear from him a lot in terms of laying out his thinking on some of these big foreign policy issues. What do you think about his candidacy at this point?
I think he needs to come out of the White House and show Americans that he has the cognitive capacity and the mental acuity to handle this job at probably the most challenging time now, at least in recent American history. We're facing issues that are existential. We're involved in 2 wars. We have AI coming down, which is going to change everything, and there's enormous dangers in it. We have an economic crisis in this country where, the middle class is disappearing. It's been torpedoed. Where 57% of Americans can't put their hands on $1,000, where an entire generation of kids cannot buy a home. This is a crisis. We need a president who is thinking about these things, who is articulating the solution for the American people. Our children's lives are dependent on that 3 o'clock a.m. call, and we need to know that we have a president who can wake up in the middle of the night and who is on his feet and thinking about those things.